You ever been so tired you could practically taste your own exhaustion? That's exactly where I was, standing in Tesco, about to have one of the weirdest confrontations of my life. It was just after a brutal 12-hour night shift at the airport. My brain felt like a bowl of overcooked oatmeal, and all I wanted was a mediocre, pre-packaged sandwich in my bed. Dressed in my airport uniform, but crucially with my big, gray, off-duty jacket zipped right up over it, I figured I was clearly just another weary customer. I grabbed a basket, my movements sluggish, and started trudging through the aisles. My eyes were half-focused, scanning for anything that wasn't a sad-looking meal deal. I barely registered the vague feeling of someone hovering nearby. Honestly, I was too deep in my own tired fog to care. Then a voice, sharp and too close, cut through my daze. "Excuse me." I might have grunted, I might have even slightly turned my head, but mostly I just kept moving. My focus was purely on the shelf in front of me. I really wasn't in the mood for small talk, or any talk for that matter. I said, "Excuse me," the voice barked again, this time with an undeniable edge. Before I could even fully register the irritation, bam. My basket, which I was loosely holding, was slapped right out of my hand, clattering onto the polished floor, sending a sad-looking bag of crisps skittering across the aisle. My exhaustion evaporated, replaced by a jolt of pure shock and a flash of anger. I blinked, trying to compute what had just happened. Standing over me, chest puffed out, was a burly man in a security uniform, his face a thundercloud. "I'm not paying you to shop, mate," he practically snarled, jabbing a finger towards the back of the store. "Get yourself to the front of the store right now." For a second, my brain just stuttered. Was I dreaming? Was this some kind of incredibly aggressive hidden camera prank? Then the words clicked. He thought I worked here, and he thought I was stealing company time. The sheer audacity, coupled with my extreme fatigue, just left me utterly dumbfounded. "Look," I mumbled, my voice rough from lack of sleep and sudden indignation. "I know the stores are open to customers because I am one." The effect was instantaneous. It was like someone had pulled the plug on his entire demeanor. The bluster drained out of him, his face going from beet red to ashen gray in a heartbeat. His eyes, which had been narrowed in suspicion, suddenly went wide with dawning horror. "Oh my God," he gasped, his voice now barely a whisper. He looked at the scattered contents of my basket, then back at my half-hidden uniform under my jacket, then at my utterly bewildered face. "Oh, I am so sorry, sir. I really thought, you were wearing the same type of trousers, and I'm part of the security team, and we've had a few issues recently. And I just assumed you were one of our new temps trying to sneak a break." He gestured vaguely, his hands now fluttering nervously. "I was just trying to do my job, really, I swear." He looked genuinely mortified, practically sweating apologies. He was clearly terrified of getting into trouble, and honestly, with my brain still struggling to reboot, I found myself feeling less angry and more pitying. He'd made a massive mistake, but he was clearly under pressure. "It's all right, mate," I sighed, bending down to pick up my crisps. "It's been a long night for me too, just finished a 12-hour shift." He quickly knelt to help me, his movements clumsy with embarrassment. As he gathered up my bits and bobs, an absurd, tired thought popped into my head. "Tell you what," I said, looking at him, a half-smile finally twitching at my lips, "you wanna, carry my basket for me? I've still gotta get my sandwich, and I'm clearly not in a state to be trusted with my own shopping." His head snapped up, his eyes widening again, but this time with a flash of genuine relief. Oh yes, absolutely, sir, I'd be happy to." And that's how I ended up spending the next half-hour leisurely browsing Tesco, while a sheepish, apologetic security guard walked a polite 2 paces behind me, dutifully holding my basket. We actually ended up chatting quite a bit. He told me about the pressures of his job, the long shifts, the constant vigilance, how easy it was to misread situations, especially when you're under the hammer from management. I told him about the airport. It was surprisingly pleasant. He was a decent bloke, just a bit overzealous and stressed. When I finally got to the checkout, the guard gave me a final, heartfelt apology. "I really am sorry, sir. Please don't report me." I just shook my head. "Nah, mate, we've all been there. Just try not to assault any more customers, yeah." I winked, and he managed a weak, grateful smile. Walking home, sandwich in hand, I couldn't help but reflect on it. The guy was clearly on edge, pushed to his limit. It made me wonder what kind of environment his managers were creating for their staff that he felt the need to be so aggressive, so instantly. It's a reminder, I guess, that everyone's fighting their own battles, even the grumpy security guard in Tesco. Sometimes all it takes is a bit of understanding and maybe a shared basket to turn a really bad start into a surprisingly human connection. Thanks for listening, folks, and stay safe out there.
If you've made it this far, you've clearly got great taste in internet drama. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more wild stories like these. All right, on to the next one.
You know those days when you just want a peaceful pizza night? Yeah, mine started with a woman throwing my dinner onto the pavement, followed by her trying to carjack me. Seriously. My stomach was rumbling louder than a sleepy bear that evening. All I wanted was a cheesy, glorious pizza from my favorite local joint. I'd placed the order through their app, pepperoni, extra cheese, the works, and was practically salivating as I hopped in my car to pick it up. Pure, unadulterated comfort food just moments away. As I pulled into the parking lot, I noticed their delivery guy just heading out, probably off to save someone else's dinner dilemma. I parked my car, my mind already drifting to that first bite. My pizza box was sitting right there, on the roof of my car, keeping warm while I locked up. That's when my perfectly ordinary night took a sharp, terrifying turn into a full-blown Karen encounter. Before I could even register what was happening, this woman, a walking, talking stereotype with an aggressively bobbed haircut and a face already flushed crimson, materialized out of thin air. She marched straight up to my car, pointed a trembling, accusatory finger at me, and let out a shriek that echoed off the pizzeria walls. "There you are, you incompetent buffoon. You're late with my pizza and it's stone cold." I barely had time to process her words before she snatched my piping hot pepperoni pizza off my car roof. "And this isn't even mine," she bellowed, her eyes bulging. With a dramatic, almost theatrical flourish, she slammed my precious pizza onto the asphalt, sending cheese, sauce, and pepperoni skittering across the grimy ground. My beautiful, perfectly crafted dinner was now a sad, smeared mess. My jaw practically unhinged. "Hold on, lady," I managed to stammer, my voice still a bit high with disbelief. "What the hell are you doing? That's my pizza. I'm not the delivery guy, I'm Ethan, and I just ordered that." She just stared at me like I was the insane one. Her eyes narrowed into slits, and then, in perhaps the most bizarre turn of events, she huffed, declared, "This is unacceptable," and without so much as a "by your leave," she yanked open my driver's side door and slid herself into my car. Like it was hers. "Hey, get out of my car, you crazy woman," I yelled, my shock quickly morphing into pure, furious bewilderment. I lunged forward, grabbed her arm, and actually had to physically pull her out of my own vehicle. She clung to the steering wheel for a second, like she was fighting for the last slice, but I managed to unlodge her. "Go inside," I practically shoved her towards the pizzeria door. "Your delivery guy is gone. You need to talk to them, not me, and certainly not destroy my dinner." Still sputtering, she stomped into the store and I followed, needing to explain this madness to the staff. Inside, the manager, a tired-looking guy named Dave, immediately recognized me. "Ethan, what happened out there?" I heard yelling. "She just threw my pizza on the ground and tried to get in my car," I exclaimed, pointing at the huffing woman. "She thought I was the delivery guy." Dave exchanged a weary glance with his colleague. "Ma'am," he said, trying to maintain composure, "the delivery driver has already left. Are you waiting for an order?" Karen, now slightly less manic but still radiating indignation, finally conceded that, yes, she was there to pick up her order. But the moment she got her receipt, the argument started again. "This amount is wrong. You're trying to pull a fast one on me. I ordered the special, not this overpriced nonsense." Dave patiently explained the charges, pointing out that she'd customized her pizza. But Karen wouldn't let it go, insisting they were trying to nickel and dime her. The whole store was practically holding its breath. Then came the kicker. Dave, bless his heart, gently informed her, "Ma'am, we also need to account for the pizza you just destroyed outside." Her face went beet red again. "What? That wasn't my pizza, and I'm not paying for some stranger's mistake." With that, she actually bolted for the door, trying to make a run for it without paying for anything. Instinct took over. I just stepped right in front of her, blocking her escape. "Oh no you don't," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "You just tried to steal my car and threw my dinner on the pavement. You're paying for your order, and you're paying for my pizza too." The manager quickly stepped in, diffusing the situation before it could escalate further. "Ma'am, if you just pay for your order and the damaged pizza, we can call the delivery guy and have him turn around or just void your order." Karen glared at me, then at Dave, like we were both villains in her personal drama. She slapped her card down on the counter, practically assaulting the card reader, snatched her receipt and stormed out of the store, probably muttering about terrible service and rude customers all the way to her car. I just stood there for a moment, catching my breath, the adrenaline finally starting to drain. "Hugh," I breathed, running a hand through my hair. "That was a lot." Dave, looking equally relieved, shook his head. "Ethan, I am so sorry about that. That was absolutely unacceptable. Please, let us make you a fresh pizza on the house right now. And here," he grabbed a giant chocolate chip cookie from a display, "you've definitely earned this. We voided your original order, you don't owe us a thing." And that, folks, is how I got a free, piping hot pepperoni pizza and a damn good cookie, all thanks to a woman who apparently thought I was her personal pizza delivery scapegoat. So remember, sometimes the universe throws you a curveball, but sometimes it also throws you free food. Just try not to get your car carjacked in the process.
You ever had one of those days where you're so utterly drained, you just want to melt into your couch and disappear, but life decides to throw a full-blown, Karen-shaped curveball right at your face? Yeah, that was my Tuesday. I'm Ethan, a medical intern, and buckle up, because this isn't just an r/IDontWorkHereLady story. It's a full-on, high-octane absurd chase. I just staggered out of a grueling 36-hour shift at the hospital. My brain felt like a dried-up sponge. My feet screamed in protest with every step, and the only thing I could think about was my bed. But first, a quick pit stop at the pharmacy next door for some heavy-duty pain relievers. My back was staging a full-scale rebellion. I was still in my surgical scrubs, half asleep, probably looking like a zombie who just performed a 10-hour brain surgery. It wasn't a choice. Changing felt like an insurmountable task. I was half-heartedly browsing the pain relief aisle, squinting at labels, when a voice, sharp and demanding, cut through my exhaustion. "Excuse me, doctor." I blinked, genuinely confused, turning to see a woman in her late 50s, impeccably dressed but with a face that already looked like it was gearing up for an argument. She had that certain look. The kind that screamed, "I demand to speak to your manager," even before she opened her mouth again. "Yes, I need you to take a look at this rash on my arm. It's been bothering me all day." She shoved her forearm, covered in a rather angry-looking red patch, practically under my nose. My brain, still operating on fumes, struggled to process. Ma'am," I began, trying to be polite despite the immense fatigue. "I appreciate you asking, but I don't actually work here. I'm just picking something up after my shift." I gestured vaguely at my scrubs, which admittedly might have been the problem. "I do work at the hospital, but not the pharmacy." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't be ridiculous. Of course you work here. You're clearly a doctor in your doctor uniform. Are you trying to avoid me? Is this how you treat your patients?" Her voice, already a bit loud, started to climb. A weary sigh escaped me. "No, really, I'm a medical intern from the hospital next door. I just finished my shift. I don't work for this pharmacy. I just came in to buy." "Don't lie to me," she snapped, cutting me off. "You're a doctor. I know a doctor when I see one. You're just pretending you don't work here because you don't want to help me. That's a disgrace to your oath." Her voice was practically echoing now, and a few other shoppers were starting to stare. My cheeks flushed, a mix of embarrassment and disbelief. Was this really happening? I was so tired, I just wanted my ibuprofen and my bed. "Ma'am, please." I am not a pharmacist and I cannot examine you here. This isn't a clinic. You're rude and a liar, she shrieked, her face turning crimson. She started to gesticulate wildly, pointing at me, then at her arm, then back at me. I demand you help me right now or I'm calling corporate. Just as I was about to either burst into exhausted tears or simply walk away and leave my pain meds behind, a calm, authoritative voice broke through the din. Ma'am, is everything all right here? It was the pharmacy manager, a kind-faced woman I'd seen around. She'd clearly heard the commotion. Finally, someone with authority. Karen practically vibrated with indignation. This doctor here, she jabbed a finger at me, is refusing to help me and lying about where he works. The manager looked at me, then back at Karen, a slight frown on her face. Ma'am, I can assure you this gentleman doesn't work for us. He's wearing scrubs because he works at the hospital. Karen's face went from crimson to a shade of purple I didn't know existed. What? You're all in on it. This is unacceptable. This is a scam. You're protecting a negligent doctor. Her voice was now a full-blown scream. She actually swatted a box of bandages off the shelf, sending them clattering to the floor. I'm never shopping here again. You're all a disgrace. With that, she stomped off, muttering threats, leaving a trail of chaos and scattered products. I exchanged a weary, apologetic look with the manager, who just shook her head. I quickly grabbed my pain relievers, paid with trembling hands, and practically bolted out of the store, my heart hammering from the unexpected adrenaline rush. Finally, I thought, I can go home. But oh, how wrong I was. As I fumbled with my keys in the parking lot, I heard a familiar, enraged yell. You liar. I looked up. There she was, Karen in her massive SUV, window rolled down, screaming at me. You're a liar and a coward. You should be ashamed. I froze. She was seriously still at this. I dove into my beat-up sedan, started the engine, and tried to back out as fast as possible. But Karen wasn't done. She put her SUV in reverse, laid on her horn, and started to follow me. My jaw practically hit the floor. This was no longer just absurd, it was genuinely unnerving. She honked relentlessly, yelling obscenities that I mercifully couldn't quite make out over the blaring horn. I took a sharp turn, then another, trying to lose her. My tired brain was now on high alert, adrenaline coursing through me. I didn't even know if this was legal, but I just wanted her gone. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only a few intense minutes, I managed to shake her off by making a daring U-turn she couldn't replicate. I sped home, heart pounding, glancing nervously in my rearview mirror the whole way. I finally collapsed on my couch, the pain relievers forgotten for a moment. I was shaking, part exhaustion, part lingering fear. Then, slowly, as the absurdity of it all sank in, a hysterical laugh bubbled up. A full-blown, tear-inducing, borderline maniacal laugh. Ethan, a tired medical intern, had just been chased by a raging Karen in an SUV because she mistook my scrubs for a pharmacy uniform. So yeah, fellow Redditors, that was my Tuesday. Never underestimate the power of exhaustion combined with pure, unadulterated entitlement. Stay safe out there, and maybe next time I'll just change into civilian clothes before picking up my meds. I'm gonna go take these pain relievers now, because my head is definitely still throbbing.
If you liked this video, you'll want to check this one out next.